Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Town of Litchfield Energy Committee for Thursday, September 21st, 2023. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, I am going to, I'll just follow the agenda right here. If there are any requests for additional items that are not on the agenda for other business today?
I just wanted to put in a spot to talk about the LED lighting and the truck grant. I think maybe that should go after we talk about the survey.
Okay. So we can put that in after number 3, so between 3 and 4. All right.
Is going over this plan part of the meeting?
Yeah, we're going to go over this survey, right? We'll go over this packet, okay? All right. So, any other business items that were not on the agenda? Okay. So we will add that after item 3. So public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 p.m. All right, so we will get to business. So we will do a roll call of members first. So,
George Wolf.
Yep, and your citizen rep, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Terrell, citizen rep.
Kimberly Queenan, Board of Selectmen rep.
Kim Kleiner, Town Administrator.
Karen White, Finance Director.
Eric Olson, citizen rep.
Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Ryan Polson, Standard Power.
Teresa McDowell, Standard Power.
Great. Welcome. So we have a few members missing tonight. Stephen Weber, also on the Board of Selectmen, could not attend tonight. John David Son from the Budget Committee is not here, could not, he's on travel. Also, Elizabeth McDonald stepped down from the school board, so her replacement may be coming in, or Heidi Ames is a substitute, so we'll keep an eye out for that. All right, so thank you very much for that. So, what is not listed on here, but I'm just going to mention as passing, is the August 10th, 2023 minutes on this agenda. So we will postpone those till the next meeting. Election of the chair is item number 2. So since Steve Weber is not here, plus also the department head of budget and school member, so I think we should postpone that as well, as far as electing a chairperson. Is everyone okay with that?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So item 2 is now complete. So item 3, discussion on the survey for community power distributed to the committee. So we have this here, right? So our town administrator, Kim Kleiner, is there any introduction you would like to do for this, or would you like the presentation to start immediately?
I'd like Ryan to start the presentation. I just had a couple of questions in the order that you generally give information to the community. So I'm wondering if we could talk about your timeline, which I see you brought, so we can understand how the two work, because we have a draft, and if we're going to release it, would we release the survey before having a hearing, or at least a community forum? I'm afraid that people won't understand what the survey is about, and I've seen other municipalities create a sort of community power website for people to go to. I've seen some interesting videos out there on what community power is. For example, I think Keene had a couple really interesting. So I'm just wondering, before the survey goes out, what do we give them?
So Teresa joined me tonight because she's been heavily involved in the planning process of community power once a town has started to work with us. I think, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, the survey is just a gauge of the community, and along with that, there are posts that get made on, and we have materials for that, for those posts on what community power is, a brief snapshot of it, and then be on the lookout for the survey, which then we would release to the public to get feedback that would go into your plan. Anything to add to that?
Sure. So what I usually recommend is start the survey by pushing it on, say, the town Facebook or Twitter or however kind of online. Hand in hand with that is creating a little web page on the Litchfield website. So kind of similar to like how the select board has its own tab, doing a community power tab. On that, you can put the survey, the plan, also in the packet, and we can kind of like, when we go through it, I did like a little fact sheet. So this is always good if people just want to access a little like quick questions, stuff like that. And we're always happy to create custom materials. I did that for quite a few towns. So it's kind of like, what are we looking for? And then I can kind of create it. I like to release a survey before the hearings because the hearings are a good place to start to talk about some of the results that come in. And also for people that do attend, it's a good way to say, hey, if you haven't taken the survey yet, like you should. But it seems like online is one of the better pushes. And in the folders too, the way I've kind of designed it now is as a trifold. So what I usually bring is about 100 copies once these are approved by the town, and say, kind of put them out wherever you think is best. So here at the town offices might be a good spot. Local library could be a good spot. I had one town that has a garden center that's really popular, and they like were handing them out to people there. So it's really up to this committee to say, oh, this is a great place where like Litchfield residents frequent. Let's put some there. So yeah, and we can always print more than 100 copies if we need it. A good thing to note is, you know, if you're taking the copies back, just giving them back to me or Ryan, so I can just enter them online. So yeah,
Okay.
I say survey first, but
Okay. And you provide the survey through SurveyMonkey?
Yep.
Or, okay.
Yeah, so we'll attack it from online, an online presence, obviously, and then with handouts that we can put, like Teresa said, around town, so people can take them. There's information in there about what the program is. They can scan the QR code to take the survey as well, or fill out, I believe, the physical survey, and then we'll have spots for them to drop the surveys off, should they want to fill it out hand copy.
So we have our town website, and we have social media, right, the Facebook. So you have we have an energy committee here online.
Yeah.
But we also have to be ready in case questions come back, right? Because that will probably happen.
And you can direct any feedback to us. So we want to have you not burdened by these responses that you might get from people in town. So if you want to give us our emails or our Standard Power number, we'll be ready to field those calls and answer those questions. It should there be any.
So a time delay between the initial messaging and then the survey, right? Is that what you were saying? The initial tickler file's out there saying it's coming, right? Then the survey comes out.
Yeah, so we could as soon as even tomorrow provide you materials that you can post, giving a brief, hey, this is community power, be on the lookout for a survey, and then potentially by end of week next week, the survey goes out. Ideally, that would probably be a good timeline, I would think, unless you wanted to make it sooner than that. But yeah, that's kind of. And then the survey is usually out for a few weeks, or longer, depending on what you would like. But hopefully we'll get a representative amount of responses and use that data when working on your plan.
And we could, point people back to the original discussions where you presented so that they could watch the meetings if they wanted a more in-depth viewpoint.
Yeah, and do you have you have a copy of the presentation as well that you
We
could
do, and I
have on-
believe that, is that online, Kim?
It was on the prior portal. They had a presentation on there.
So, if it's okay with you, I'm assuming that you said create a community power tab. So people weren't putting that tab under their under their energy committee, they were actually creating its own.
So we have kind of two ways. As part of the law, the select board has to commission the community power committee. And so the naming is a little bit more loose within the law. So what I kind of tell energy committees is they can become community power for a time being. Once this gets finished, wrapped up, switch back to being the energy committee, or you can create a subcommittee as well. And it can just be all the members in the committee that are working on community power. So it can be a little tab under the energy committee page. It can also be its own. It's kind of however the town wants to do it. It's pretty flexible.
And we'll build out for post-town meeting, assuming everything is approved, we'll have built out a dedicated, either a dedicated standalone website or a page front off of the Standard Power website, which I think is the plan right now, where we're building out other communities' individual pages for people to come and opt in, opt out, change within the plan, get more information on the program. So that'll be available. That's obviously not available now because we're just beginning. But by the launch of your program, that'll be up and running.
And that'll be a good place once we're at that point to direct people on a regular basis,
Yeah.
because the plan will be posted there, and that will be where they can see their options, the prices, and make a decision on if they want to opt up
Yeah.
or if they want to opt back to the utility.
Okay.
The question is, do we want it to look like it's Litchfield driving this, or we want it to look like they're driving it, right? With the way you're saying, set up the tabs, right? Either make it under our own commission, right? Or do we temporarily let it look like it's you, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
would still
Considering
be
it's
this
a
group.
warrant.
Oh, it'd still be
yeah.
this group,
Yeah.
but what is it, what is the public's perception? Is it? Yeah,
Still it would still be Litchfield, I would
do we
say.
have
Yes.
a look at what that looks like? Do you have a sample, or could you mail us?
No,
Or do you have
so
it on your
I think
phone?
we're talking about two different things. We're encouraging the town on the town website under either the energy committee page, either to have information on that page about community power, or to have a separate page under committees, under the committees tab. I'm guessing that is the community power committee, and that's where you dump information for now about what's going on in
Right.
town, what we're working on, any files, the survey, and then when it comes to launching the program in the spring or whenever it ends up being, then you'll have your own standalone website, not on the town website, unless you really want it to run through the town. But you'll have that own dedicated website at that point. And so you can have information on in both places, but post launch of the program, we'll want people to go to that dedicated website if they are opting in or out.
Right.
So they're not contacting the town saying, "Hey, what do I do? How do I get into this program?" We don't want that to fall on the shoulders of whoever's answering phones here. So, and you'll get calls, but we'll want you to say you can direct it, or give so and so at Standard Power a call, or give the supplier who is the winning supplier of the program, give them a call. So it'll essentially pass the work off from you guys to us or the supplier.
I'm looking at the town of Wilton. See how they have government boards and committees like we do?
Mm-hmm.
And then inside that, they have community power aggregate.
Yes.
Instead of, then they have energy commission as well. They have both.
So, because they probably, so Wilton was with Keene?
Yeah, they're active right now. Their
Right,
program's
so they probably made their energy committee or members of become the community power committee while they were going through the process, and they kept it there.
They had some, but some members of the community power committee weren't on the energy committee.
Interesting.
So yeah, so we've seen that in some towns. Some towns are also just energy committee members that are also community power committee members. So we see it from both angles, but I mean, we always appreciate people from the community that aren't already engaged, becoming engaged in these committees, so.
I don't think we need a second committee. You know, can't we just do all this under the energy committee?
By law, it has to be the community power committee.
Okay. I mean, we made this committee in order to address this subject, so.
Right.
So if we just call ourselves the community power committee, I mean, what's the difference?
I think if you do that until you complete the plan, and then you can revert back to just the energy committee.
So we'd have to just rebrand.
I'm saying, see, look at, if you go to
Seems kind of-
Wilton,
I think I like
wiltonnh.gov.
Wilton's instead.
Yeah.
It's been a pain every town.
So
It's
then you're
like-
saying it's
I don't know
illegal?
why it can't just be an energy committee, but they put it in the law for whatever reason that it has to, the committee that works to develop this has to be the community power committee. So,
It's going to become difficult in the fact of when we open the meeting, we have to say community power committee, right? We have to brand it that way in the agenda, we have to brand it that way in everything we do, including the videos that are up in YouTube. But then what? The energy committee never meets unless we have another meeting, which is the energy committee?
Yeah, it just seems to add
It does,
complication. and
it adds
confusion.
quite a, yeah, it does add.
So this
Can
is
we,
a-
on the day that we vote, can we just, on that
we
day,
can
say
get
we're.
we can get the verification of the specifics of what you can and can't do. So we'll get back to you on that, but
It's definitely not the most pressing. I've had a few towns that
yeah.
have waited. I know some are also energy or electric aggregation. So there are some variations still. So it doesn't hurt to check again and make sure that. But I mean, as long as the select board said like to investigate community power,
They did.
that's part of the law, and that, for me that
Then
feels
then you
that
mi-
feels
then
it. But
yeah, then you
I'll
might
just
be
double check
fine, but
that.
we'll double check.
Right, so we have right under the committee, the mission statement. If you look on our website, Ryan, you'll see it,
And,
under that.
yeah.
And it says, to evaluate and recommend community power energy opportunities which might be further considered in detail by the town.
Okay.
So,
I think that'll be fine, but we'll double check.
okay.
So again, I just want to, for my own thing, I'm looking at Wilton, New Hampshire. I go under government, boards and committees, and both come up, energy and this community. So it's literally a separate entity. It has to have its own posting.
It would. If
Okay.
you have two committees, it would, yes.
Gotcha. So the same members, I'm assuming? Well, we'll have a chat about that,
Well,
right?
you said that some members differ between the two
Right,
committees.
but in this
here,
case,
I
is
feel
what I'm
like
saying,
we
right?
would
In
not
this
have
case-
much differing.
All right, so we'll have some discussions.
Or we just
Next game.
rebrand ourselves, or we just rename ourselves for right now.
And then rename it back
And
afterwards.
rename it back after the fact.
So we could have a vote to rebrand our committee for,
But this should stay out there for a while, right? you're doing this now for to give information, right? Then you're saying later there should be a separate website to just go and, either,
If you want to, you can probably go to wiltoncommunitypower.com and see what they have as their second website, if
Okay.
you want to check that out.
so we'll follow
Um,
them.
Just to see both versions, what the town has versus the Wilton page.
So wiltonh.gov is the original. What's the one you just said? Wilton what?
Wiltoncommunitypower.com
Okay.
should be.
Great.
Yes, because I think I saw what Keene had on the municipal site,
Yep.
and then I saw Keene's community power page.
And I do have a few where you click the energy committee and it's like, they have like a sidebar or a top bar that says like community power. So just checking, I guess, how it has to be structured, but I mean, it might not need its own page. It's definitely good to have the information on the website, however we
Yes.
decide to do it, just for residents to be able to access that easily.
Yeah. Understood. Okay.
Do you want to go over your timeline here?
Sure.
Looks like
Absolutely.
October to get the survey.
Well,
actually.
were there any on the survey itself? Was there anything?
Yeah, I have some comments on the
Okay.
survey.
Do we want? Is that okay to
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
finish
that's
that
where
and
we're
then go? Okay.
Yep. Well, let me get my little pamphlet. Here we go.
So first is just a recommendation. You have some like informational language, like at the beginning in question 1, where you say to complete separate surveys. I feel like that might be better up in the top area. Same with after question 2, talking about Eversource as our primary electric utility, providing emergency services. I feel like that sort of stuff belongs in the top. It just, so that's just a recommendation. Maybe consider throwing it up there. Not a big deal though. The real thing I wanted to address is on question 5. It seems almost, I feel like we either need to add an option or we can rewrite the 4th bullet there, because all the options are, I would like extra renewables, I would like extra renewables, I would like extra renewables, and then the last one is just, I do not want extra renewables. And I don't think, it's not that people don't want extra renewables, it's that they don't care really where their energy comes from, as long as they're paying less.
Yep.
So the way it's written, I feel like it's kind of a bit of a loaded question. So would you be open to maybe changing the language on that one bullet?
So, yeah, we can definitely talk about it. I just got this exact same question actually on Tuesday.
Okay.
So the question itself is, are you interested in adding extra renewable energy? So that's why that last bullet doesn't say anything about cost, which was the original question from the other day. Not that
Yeah.
that matters, but the question 4, the second bullet, and I guess kind of the first with the lower energy bills, is addressing that like lowest cost part.
Right.
Question 5 is, and not that I want to jump around, but we'll jump around a little. So in the plan, and we can get to this, there's it's page 2. This question's pie chart of are people interested in more renewables is indicating how many options we give residents. So for all the surveys I've seen completed, the majority, it's about 65%, choose I would like more renewables. Whether they pay more or about the same as today, it ends up being like the majority, which would then point to doing a green default of adding 10% renewables to the default product. We would never take away the basic option, which is lowest cost, no extra renewables against the RPS. So that's always an option, and only one town so far has opted to do a basic as their default. So that's what that question is like. It's a little bit pointed in the sense that it's
Right.
trying to dig up that data to, do people want a 100% renewable option? If 0 people say it and we get, a significant, statistically significant portion of the town, then maybe we consider, hey, we don't want to do a 100% green option. We haven't done that so far, but since this is Litchfield's plan, we're happy to, make it for Litchfield. So that's why. But if we want to say, I would not like more renewable energy, comma, I'm looking for lowest cost power, something like that. We
Exactly.
can definitely edit it in that way.
Yeah, and not even, I don't think it's, not that I would not like more renewable, I think it should say, and maybe you can come up with something a little better, I don't care where my energy comes from.
Yeah.
I just want
It's
the
not that
lowest
people are
rate.
like, oh, I don't want solar, it's like, they just want the lowest price, however they can get it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I can try to like wordsmith that a little and make
Okay,
it
thank
sound
you.
better.
I think another problem we have potentially in question 5 is that it doesn't tell people what's included under renewable energy. So, I'm not sure that the people answering this will necessarily understand what it means to say, for example, if you choose, I want 100% renewable, and not knowing what the definition of renewable is, they may or may not exclude things that they didn't mean to, which is one of my concern that I noted when looking at Keene's plan. They want to move to 100% renewable. But that would exclude any of their power coming from, say, our local nuclear generation. Maybe some other things, but that's probably the biggest one. And I think, somebody who selects 100% might think, yeah, 100%, this is good, but they might not even consider that that's a possibility. And I just feel like collecting the data would be a lot more useful if we know that the people answering the question know what is and isn't included in the renewable definition.
Yeah, definitely. Another good thing to note is the power that goes is the same, and it's just the RECs that we purchase for the power that is changing. So the price will go up a little, and then they'll be buying, or they, us, and the supplier, will be buying RECs to then cover. And so that's covered in the plan as well, and it will say New England Class 1 RECs. So the power is the same, it's the same quality, and it really could still be coming from the nuclear, but what's happening is we're paying a little bit extra for a certificate on the market, saying, hey, this power, we're buying it from this solar field over there, even though it's really not the power coming to our house. But it really is a point of education because, like before I worked this job, I put my Eversource bill on auto pay and never looked at that. And I feel like a lot of people fall into that category where they just pay their bill, they don't even know the utility price changes. I sure didn't, and they don't know when. So it's definitely a little bit of a learning curve all around, and there's room for education on all of it. So
I think to his point though, right in the survey.
Yep.
They should know.
Yeah, because
The
if
definition
people are just filling out the survey and they don't know, then we're going to get data that doesn't necessarily mean what people intended to express or thought they were expressing. And maybe it is what they want, but they don't know unless they see the definition.
So I want to be clear, because that's a good point. If they choose 100% renewable, that's not excluding the nuclear energy, is it?
no,
It is.
So
It is excluding the nuclear
If
energy.
you go
I asked this
100%
question during
green,
the last
we're
meeting.
not receiving and we're not paying for any nuclear energy.
nuclear energy is not technically a renewable source.
Right.
It's built into the power stack here in New England and across the country, wherever there are nukes. So power that you receive power right now could, in theory, be coming from Seabrook. As soon as it hits the lines, it's here, there, everywhere.
Right.
There's no true distinction of where it's coming from once it hits the grid. So the REC, which is a separate product from the base cost of supply, is that green attribute that's derived from solar, wind, hydro, and sometimes biomass. Those projects produce these RECs. They retire these RECs, and that REC is the green attribute that we purchase for the program that gets that person up to 50%, 100% renewable. So the power that I can be buying 100% green, but I still could, my house could still be being powered by a natural gas plant, the nuclear plant. This is just a paper construct to get people to be green by purchasing greenness, essentially. The part that we want to also look into and help the town look into is building local projects, so you can have more local power produced in town, that you can say, okay, there's a better likelihood that the power from that solar project over there is contributing to powering my house. And then you also incorporating the RECs that are produced from that project into your program. So now you're upping the odds of getting the actual power from that project, and you're purchasing very local RECs from something in your town. So, but yes, giving a brief definition of what renewable is, I can see that as helping people understand that a little better. So.
Okay, good. So that's good, you're gonna put that in the survey. But what I'm hearing is, and tell me if I'm right, that if someone goes on the 100% renewable option, the money that they use to buy the electricity will be going into these RECs. And basically the solar fields or the windmills or whatever will be getting paid, even if the actual electricity is coming from the nuclear plant. And they won't be getting paid.
The projects themselves, well, so I guess it depends. If we're just no projects in town that we're talking about, let's say, if we're just buying the contract and the RECs are generated somewhere in the country, not necessarily local. We'll want to buy as much local RECs as we can, but not everything will be local. So the supplier that ultimately wins the bid for the program has a REC department. They buy RECs, they sell RECs. They may own assets that produce their own RECs. So they are the ones the suppliers who gets paid. They're already paying the project for the REC. So the residents aren't paying, I guess, the project for it. It's already been paid for, essentially, if that explains it a little bit.
Another good thing to know is that it's decoupled. So when the solar farm, say, is producing, the RECs and the electricity themselves split apart. So the electricity coming from the solar is no longer green, if that makes any sense at all. It's just power going on the grid. These RECs are the, as you said, green attribute that are then traded on the open market. So it's like saying every electron is the same, pretty much, and putting it on that even playing field. So where you get your electricity today will still be the same. It will just be you're paying that little bit of extra to say, oh, I want that attribute retired in my name, if that makes it easier.
Yeah, the power is always going to be fungible. All the electrons are indistinguishable. But what you're basically doing if you opt to pay more for green is you're opting to give money to where those RECs are coming from. Basically, the list of things, there's a list of things that can qualify, and then whoever we're actually buying the power from has chosen to buy those products from somebody, and you're choosing to pay more for that basket of power. So you're providing economic incentive for people to provide those specific kinds of power, even though that's not what you're personally getting.
Yes. Yeah. I think I understand. I understood that. Yeah. likelihood and for our traditional business, when we've done 100% contracts, the RECs that are being purchased for that particular contract are wind RECs. So it's probable that the majority are wind RECs that are being bought and then ultimately incorporated into this program. But each supplier is different. Each supplier has their own portfolio of purchases. So some suppliers could have more solar RECs than wind RECs. I don't know that breakout or that breakdown. So, but yes, if I were to select 100% as my option, I know that I will pay more, but I'm also paying for that green attribute. So separate from the survey, and potentially once we have a good set of survey results, we can market better what truly means 50% green, 100% green, and get into that and get more information out to the community on what this truly means, and to help people make their decisions come that day where they'll make the choice.
So I feel as if there may be people at home that don't understand what rec means. So, like, define a rec, right? So, I mean, some that are active in this, or if you've worked for a municipality, you know what it is. You've talked about, but I think that's going to be important to explain to a resident what a rec is. What do you mean they're purchasing recs? Well,
If I
are they
were to-
purchasing power? I mean, that's what they're not going to understand.
If I were to read this not knowing the definition of a rec, and it says, would you like 100% renewable energy? Yeah, sure. I'm willing to pay for that, but I think this conversation is a good example of why it might be too much to expect that people will know what that means.
And to your point, some people might say, yeah, 100%, that sounds good. And that's the extent of it.
They also may never opt up once they get in the program. They may just stay in the default and do nothing. But they may say, oh, that 100% sounds cool. And that's what we've seen so far too, is for the towns that have launched, Wilton included, it's only been a few months, but the majority of people just get on their default and go on with their day. There's no change. We've had some opt up, we've had a little bit of opt out, but it's big chunk is just like, all right, this is me now. So it will definitely, as time goes on and more towns launch, we'll be able to see, are these other products. I think our biggest question has been, do we need a 50%, something in the middle for those, for the people that do care, will they just instantly go for that 100? If that makes sense, like, do they need that middle choice? If they care, they'll just go for it. It's just giving them another option. But anyway, yeah, this is just a good indicator if people want to do a green default is really the most important question, because that's where the majority of the people will end up, is in that 10% extra renewable energy.
And we'll have marketing materials that we can over time after the survey is out that can go over.
Yeah, I was just speaking to the relevance of the answers we get back.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if they don't know before, then it's not going to influence their choice of answer.
I think with a lot of towns, it's been illuminated, like the biggest piece is the community education. Like there's so many pieces of this that it's like, oh, what's that? Oh, what's that part of it? And it just comes down to like, oh, but when I flick the lights, like I want them to come on. It's, well, they will. So at the end of the day, I think that gives a good peace of mind. And the other piece is like, oh, we want to save you money. It's, okay, those both sound pretty good to me. And I think going beyond that for the people that do care, and I do think that there are people out there that care, it is like, oh, here's some resources, like if you want to learn more about RECs, like maybe it's a 2-minute video, like where do RECs come from?
Yeah.
Maybe the one I've been pitching, I think it's understanding your electric bill, like breaking down the electric bill and helping people understand like what is delivery, what is supply, and what is transmission, and what do those mean? Why aren't these charges changing? I feel like that's a big one that I get asked about a lot. So there's definitely so much room to like help people get a better grasp on like, you know, what is the energy committee gonna do? LED lights, like there's a lot of room. So yeah.
So I have a question on this. With the data, if they put it in electronically or they fill it out this way, do you sell it?
No,
Stays?
the only person who looks at it is me.
Well, I'm just asking
And-
because I understand some of the demographics you probably need, but I think seven's kind of a intrusive question to some people, you know. Did you do your own energy audit? Do you have insulated walls? Did you purchase LED light bulbs, energy efficient appliances? You know, it seems to be a pretty hot topic today. I don't want people perceiving they're spying, right? So they might not fill it out.
Yep.
You want a box that says prefer not to answer?
That would, well, I don't know, I didn't think of it, but again, if it was being sold, I'd be nervous about that, but I don't know if it will or won't be in the future, right?
No, we've been asked that I think at least one other time, but no, it stays in house. We have no interest in that kind of business.
The survey
That's not
was-
what we're trying to do. So
I mean, is this, in the, what is this, the minutes last time? We have a list of what appears to be the results from 11 other communities. Would our results not be in there?
So that was the first 11 that have been through. I currently have probably another, I want to say like 10, maybe more surveys out right now being run actively. My goal is to always just compile it into kind of lump sum New Hampshire,
Okay.
just to see. We as a company have talked about, you know, if we've done a 10% of New Hampshire, do we need to keep running the survey or is that enough? And do we leave it up to the town? We haven't gotten to that point yet, but I mean, it's a good question. Once we've sampled enough of the population, do we know a green default is preferred? I kind of like that each town kind of gets to decide for themselves, and they still would, but kind of, this is another good tool to just, hey, this is something we're talking about in town, this is coming. And really what this gets used for is Exhibit 4 in the plan. So it will just, I'll compile them all as graphs, and then it will just go in the back. So we'll have a picture of all the questions, and then we'll say, oh, like, for the most part, we see mostly residents answer. The last 3 questions I actually get asked about a lot for that same question, like, oh, do you sell this? Why do you need to know? And the part of that is just making sure you get a good sampling of the community. If everybody that answers is, say, making more than 100K, they might be more inclined to pay more for a product than someone who's making under 50K, where that might seem like almost like a luxury good, as then just take the basic lowest cost. So it's good to see, hey, we got a good sampling of everybody. And with question 7 too, the point behind that one was the community education. If people haven't done a home energy audit, like, would that be something that Litchfield wants to teach about? If LED light bulbs haven't been hit upon, is that a good discussion to just do a little educational moment, talk about it within the town? How do we get, you know, people to make that switch? So that's just seeing, again, like, what have people done? Do they have a little bit of like energy knowledge?
Do we want to make that optional to answer? Do you want that? What did you say? Make it optional?
So there's
Prefer
like,
not
I
to
prefer
answer.
not to.
Either
Yeah, just
prefer
an
not,
extra
make that
box.
the first box, just so that they know.
Yeah, and also
that's
with paper, if they don't check it off, obviously then they prefer not to answer. With the online, it's pretty easy. I leave the last 3 completely. If they click nothing, they can also click the I prefer not to answer. So I can just make it the same on this question.
So
Where,
they can move through all the questions in the survey without necessarily answering this.
Not
Right.
required.
and I think the only spot where it stops you is question 6. If you click email, it forces you to put an email in, but that's never been an issue. If you don't want to put it in, just unclick the box.
I had a question on the ages as well. Any particular reason for the under 18? Because they can't sign a contract.
Yeah, I've actually never had a person under 18 take the survey, so.
So why don't we redistribute the ages a little bit better?
Yeah, I can just take that option off. Does that sound good?
Maybe correlate it with some of the census breakdowns might be better. And I guess the other question I had was on 10.
Yep.
And I understand your logic about the preference for certain people with certain incomes wanting a preferred product. But there's nothing really here about how much we pay or how much a resident pays summer or winter for their electric bill. Would, especially for people who are that's a significant part of their monthly bills. You know, how do we judge they'd be more likely to go over? Because I think you had 1,100 surveys done.
Yep.
So far, at least in the presentation. 22 towns, I think.
12 towns so far.
Okay.
Yep.
It's about 100. What's your survey rate roughly based on the number of accounts that come over? Approximate, you know,
Good question. So we've only had those 4 towns launched so far.
okay?
I don't really know much about the 4 because I hadn't started at Standard Power yet. But
We're talking about surveys that we receive back from
Yeah, that you've completed for the towns
Percentage
that
of the
have converted.
households that responded.
I feel like for the 3 smaller towns, Wilton did great. We got, I want to say 150 responses from Wilton.
Percentage of the accounts,
They have like 3,000 residents or population, so that's
with the accounts,
1,800
the accounts that
residents.
came over. How
What do you
many
mean
accounts?
by accounts?
Well, if I understand this, in other words, my account at my home,
An electric account.
correct.
Yeah.
So how many accounts came over in Wilton? Roughly.
I want to say probably somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000.
so because it's an opt-out plan, every account that's not already on third-party supply gets registered. So it will, for every town, will be very high. Because most residents are just on the default, except for the ones that kind of go out and shop. And a lot of time those are customers on like direct energy, for example. So
Is there a suggestion for question 10 that you would like to make or change about it?
I don't know, I'd just kind of like to get a sense, how likely am I to move? In other words, if I'm paying $200, $100 to $200, just some kind of bracket to get a rough estimate. You know, you're more likely to get people who are $50,000 to $100,000 or under 50, and they're paying, $100 to $200 a month. And if you split it summer, winter, because again, air conditioning loads could be fairly high, that might give us a good sense of what's going on.
Alright, well,
that's an interesting thought, because also on the same, like, electric heat is also expensive. And if they have AC and electric heat, they might have bills through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, you really have no sense of what percentage of my monthly bill goes to just heat the house, cool it, or whatever have you, lighting and whatnot. I guess one of the general things I have is, what are our metrics of success here? At the end of the day, which the survey really doesn't get into, but it's just a question internally to the committee.
and that specific breakdown of costs on the bill is not doable unless you have a smart meter. Because you were talking about how much am I using for heat or electric heat, how much am I using for this and that. You can't really break out.
I was just referring to cumulative.
Okay.
Yeah, so you want something that maybe says approximately how much do you pay monthly for electricity?
Yeah, I mean,
And
just
have a couple of brackets
just a
there.
rough estimate, fill in the box and be
Okay.
done and move on. And again, you can correlate that to the annual income,
Yeah,
get a sense of how, what impact does that have? And that may also help in terms of planning the program for later, in terms of different offerings.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do some reworking of that.
Cool.
Do you mind if I open it up for public? So it's after 6:45. So I'm going to open it up for public if anybody would like to have a public comment period right now. And since nobody's online, nobody's here, I'm going to close public comment period. Okay, thank you.
I had another question. let me see if I can find it in the minutes really quick, about when you were talking about whether nuclear is renewable or green in the last meeting. You said that, unless a town creates an ordinance, it is up to the state to decide whether nuclear is green or not.
I believe that's true, and really the person who will know that is Bob, who was here last meeting. But as far as I know, the state doesn't recognize nuke as a renewable source, as far as I know.
So what I'm getting at is, as a town, could we create an ordinance that says, hey, nuclear is green? And then, I'm just trying to figure out.
I don't know. I can
Yeah.
find out, but I don't know.
I don't know where it is in here, but I believe I asked something like that, and the reply indicated that that there wasn't a way to differentiate, because what you're doing, like they talked about before, was you're buying these RECs,
Right,
but there isn't RECs for nuclear.
there are none.
So
So then, even
you're
if
not
a
really
town.
you're not really doing anything, because you're not changing the power. The only reason the percentage greens exist is to subsidize those by paying more, and there's not any way to do that with nuclear. So
And so my question, I guess, is on what level can that be created for nuclear?
I don't know that we could create it.
Because that's the PUC.
So would that be the
Wouldn't
state
that
would have
be-
to make an
There
action?
are a lot. I think a lot of agencies would have to get.
Yeah.
If Litchfield, New Hampshire, wanted to build some sort of nuclear facility, you're.
No, I mean, like, not build a nuclear facility. I mean, have the Seabrook plant have RECs like a solar field would, and be able to buy those the same way you buy them from the solar field.
So
It sounds like it's probably a higher level thing than just the town, I'm sure, but I'm just curious. How that would
if
work.
anything, and I don't know if anything, they would create thermal RECs. I would
Here's the
think,
thing.
but I don't know. I don't know if Seabrook does that. But if it did, it would create thermal RECs, and that's a kind of a separate entity. And I know Seabrook is contracted out to deliver their power to the grid, but I mean, it is something to talk about. I don't think it's realistic for the first iteration of this program, but moving forward into the future, as things evolve, it's definitely something to consider if it is manageable.
It's more just a little curiosity.
Yeah.
It's a good question. With small modular reactors, like, kind of being more and more popular, like, it's definitely an interesting topic.
Ryan, did I understand correctly that you shop the RECs anywhere in the country and not necessarily in the New England ISO or the RGGI?
Well, the company, the supplier who is the ultimate winner of the bid, has essentially a stash of RECs that they have purchased or acquired that are from all over the country. I would assume some communities are fine with just as long as they're getting greenness added to their rates. Some communities want to have more local projects that produce RECs that are local. And as we grow and evolve, we want to be able to provide more local RECs to our communities. So,
Oh, sorry. Part of the plan, under section B, 5B, is that they will come from New England ISO only. So even if the supplier has them from all over, we have it that they'll be, I think, New England class 1. So it could be anywhere in the New England grid, but would still be local.
And just for clarification, it's a megawatt hour to a megawatt hour.
Right.
Okay.
Just a quick comment on the locality of the RECs. I know that, I don't know what all the other suppliers do, but the agreement that I have for my solar installation is that the installing company gets the RECs, which would mean that they don't really have any bearing on the fact that I'm local. Which I don't know if that's something people care about necessarily or not, but if that's a common practice in the industry, then I don't know how you would assign locality to those.
So that's kind of the recs for this program are retired in the program's name, whereas the recs that you generate from your project are being taken by the company that's installing it. So it's removing the greenness from your ownership, I guess. The plan, the recs are specific to the program. So they're New England, as Teresa said, New England recs, and they are either retired in the name of the program, which then means that they're the program's recs. So it does provide that, I guess, knowledge that they're.
Let me rephrase as a question. Are the RECs for my solar installation, are they fungible? Do they just get mixed into a basket with the owner's other RECs, or are they labeled as this is a REC that was, belongs in New Hampshire or Litchfield or whatever granularity?
I think it has granularity, but I think what it becomes is labeled as a New Hampshire, well, I'm guessing yours is probably a New Hampshire Class 1. And so then they'll just have a basket. So there will be the ones that came from your project, but so they'll be attached to your name, sort of, not yours anymore, but that person's.
Okay.
And then they can all be put together and sold as New Hampshire Class 1s.
Okay.
So really, we could, if we bought New Hampshire Class 1s, could be like buying your RECs without even knowing it. Like that's just sort of how the market goes, which would be funny. We would never know, but.
So I'm not sure about how much power does an electric car use when they plug them in? Is it a big difference in electric bill? I don't know.
Depends how much you drive.
Some it says it's equivalent to like a second house going on to your house. So it can
You
be
mean
quite,
cost-wise?
yeah.
So
and like
we're all
usage
paying
wise.
we're all paying that. Electric, they're paying more because they're using it, but, so you had a list Q7 here of what you've done to become efficient. You want to ask optionally if people have an electric car, because that's going to impact some
Yeah,
usage
that's a
on the
great
grid, right? Peak times.
And
Yeah.
generally those who one might think that someone who owns an EV is also probably willing to pay more to be greener, but that's just an assumption. So I don't know if I don't know what the data says on that. Well, we may find out based on some of the survey results we get, but that is a good thing to add.
Then you can see if usage is going up.
Yeah.
Because that's happening.
That's a great ad.
Again, make it optional so people don't think. But it would be good information, but I
Yeah.
respect privacy as well.
Me as well.
I had a question about this universal access. It says the plan provides for universal access for all customers by guaranteeing that all customer classes will be included in the program under equitable terms. And then
Where are you at?
on page 3. And then there's a little bit down further in the page where it talks about soliciting separate pricing of the same classes. I'm not sure exactly what this means, but from the talk last time, it seemed as though there was not going to be any condition where people who were net metering with positive output would ever get as much money on this plan as they would be getting by not being on this plan. And it's a bit unclear to me how the economics of that works, how it's possible that the plan can give consumers a better deal and supposedly incentivize local production, but local producers would get a worse deal if they were on the plan.
Yeah, I get that question a lot too, and it's because with the plan, it's designed for people without sort of systems or access to those sorts of systems. And if you think of it as like, say Eversource's rate is 20 cents and our rate is 10 cents, just for easy math, like you're gonna wanna sell your power at 20 cents versus the 10 cents. And for a person who doesn't sell at all, they're gonna wanna buy at the 10 cents and not at the 20 cents. So if you do have a positive output, you're gonna wanna kind of make the money from that and not be a part of the plan. And it is hard to say opt out of the program then, because it's like, this program is designed with greenness in mind. But there is room for people who don't make all of their power to still opt in, make a little bit of money. And it really becomes, we kind of ask when we talk to net metering customers, do you care more about the payment you're getting or the greenness? Because if you're only making 75% of your own power, do you want to, stay on the grid and pay a little extra for that 25%? Or do you want to opt in for the 100% plan for that last 25% and pay a little more? So it's
But on one hand, we're asking customers to pay more for local green power, and then we're asking the people producing local green power to accept less payment for their local green power.
Yep, so we would
So
say
where's
then-
the extra money going?
So it sounds like if you're net positive in your house, it would make the most sense to opt out of the plan.
Right.
You get more for your sales of your electricity into the grid, and then the people on the plan would be able to basically buy that energy because it's local. And there's the balance. But that's another point where I feel like a little bit of education would be good for people, because people who have panels aren't going to know that,
Yep.
and they're going to think, oh, well, yeah, we love green,
And
and then they're going to opt in and they're going to make less money for their panels.
Yeah, and I feel like there's probably going to be a strong bias, a lot of overlap between the people who already have solar panels, especially net positive ones, and the people who are going to be attracted to the, higher percentage green plans. Maybe even thinking that that will be better for them in terms of income. And I guess my biggest concern with the entire thing is that somebody's going to read a line like this and think that that this plan's going to be a net benefit to them when it's not.
There could be clarifications put in there, specific examples, working through, if you're net positive, if you're not net positive.
Yeah,
There's some questions that I had, and again, not being as familiar with the rates. When solar is exporting to the grid, is it getting paid the same energy rate? Because certain jurisdictions don't do that, so I guess that's a general question I have. Am I getting the same rate as a solar provider exporting power to the grid as I am when I'm consuming from Eversource?
Sorry.
I would say no.
So there is net metering 1 and net metering 2. Those are the two net metering programs. Net metering 1 ended in 2017. Those people who are on net metering 1 can participate in the community power program. Net metering 2 customers should not participate because of the decrease in value that they would receive back from the utility for the power that they sell. And what we do when we get data from the utility is a list of residents in town who have solar, and we encourage them to call us, and we talk them through each scenario. on an individual basis. We did this for the first 4 communities that launched earlier this year. We got, I don't know, 400 something calls from people in those 4 towns saying, hey, I have solar, what should I do?
Is the export rate for solar set by the commission?
It's the default rate of the utility.
I think it's 75% of the rate.
Yeah, so
All
the
right, that's 2 different answers there.
net metering 2 gets paid 100% supply and 75% transmission distribution, I believe.
I thought it was 75% supply.
Yeah, that's where I'm a little confused. Maybe we can have you clarify that, please?
We do have that as a document as well.
But that's only if they
Yeah,
don't join the plan.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand, and again, for the example of the community energy plan, if I'm looking at this, this question comes up, do I wanna do this or not?
People can, and this may be for the extra knowledgeable people, green people, but you could also arbitrage the system. So let's say the winter months when you're using pretty much everything and not exporting, that may be a time where you hop back onto the community power program because you get the better rate versus the default because you're not overproducing power from your project. So there are some intricacies that we can talk through with people as well on that, but yeah, it is a hot topic on a lot of the time at these meetings.
What happens if you can't reach somebody? If you aren't able to talk to them, or
So
is there any situation where somebody with net positive output would be put on a plan without them knowing what the plan is, or that they're not going to be paid for their power?
if they receive the mailer and do nothing, they would be enrolled. So our hope is to be able to inform everyone prior to that, so that they have the choice to either opt in or out of the program.
That could cost people a lot of money if they are simply not aware or don't answer their phone for you.
It's either that, or we just say no. Anyone with solar can't be in the program, and our competitor is doing that, and we don't think that's the right thing to do. So
Well, is there perhaps a slightly different way of doing it where they would have to opt in? Because most of it right now is opt out, as I understand it.
Yes.
Once Litchfield goes on this program, if you don't send your mailer in, or whatever your response is, you're in the program for some period of time. But if it's solar and you'll have those accounts and know that information, to your point, I mean, is it something that we want to have them, solar folks opt in?
I think it needs to be opt-in, because otherwise, I mean, I'm imagining my scenario here, right? I'm about to make a large solar installation. I am expecting to get paid for that power that I'm putting back into the grid. I've invested a lot of money in this. It's going to be thousands of dollars. If I wasn't here and hadn't read this stuff and didn't know what was going on, I might get this in the mail. I might read a phrase like this and think, that sounds good. I'm going to be treated fairly by this plan. I just am not available. I'm busy doing something else. Don't pay attention. Go to look for how to collect that check at the end of the year and realize that none of my money is there.
And it may also impact municipal buildings that decide to go solar as well, under various accounts, I would assume.
Yeah, I would hate for somebody to lose thousands of dollars just because they didn't get the call or weren't paying attention or didn't understand it, just automatically without them,
no, it's a valid point. I don't know, based on the law, I don't know if that is an option, but we'll look into it.
Yeah, I thought the law was that you had to have an opt-out program.
Well,
But the solar is 75% of the distribution. It's the distribution that's 75%.
it's the law that you have to abide by the plan that you create?
No, the law is an opt-out, an opt-out program. That is the law. So all eligible customers are opted into the program unless they opt out.
So it's how, okay, so what's the definition of eligible?
Not on a third-party supply contract.
All right, so in other words, there's no way under the plan that I can redefine eligible.
We could change the plan, but it's the laws. You would have to change the law.
Well, all right, I realize it's a nuanced point, but I'm just trying to understand. Is eligibility defined in a law as these classes of people, these meters? I guess it's G, the NEM 1, the NEM 2, they're all eligible. And that's the definition under law? Or is the definition that the plan that we're developing will define the eligible classes?
I believe it's the first one, but we'll verify. I don't think the utility distinguishes net metering customers. They just distinguish everyone as an R or a G or whatever utility zone or utility they're in. It's just they're an electric customer and they're not in a contract. That's my belief. But
Right, they fall under a certain tariff class.
Correct.
Okay.
But we'll verify. I'm thinking of something we could do, but I wanna research it more before I bring it up. So,
And one other question along the lines of this plan. What was the most recent plan that was filed and adopted by the commission, and is this plan essentially the same as that?
It was dairy, and they were approved on September 5th.
yeah.
So any of the commission comments or any of the intervener comments will be available on the website?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we can send the link to Derry's plan too if you would like that.
That might be helpful.
They're unique because they have all 4 utility zones in their community, so it's I think it's our first town that has had that. So it's a little unique, but
They also went to the PUC before completing their hearings and going to town council. So they're a really special case. They didn't have to do town vote, because they have town council, so the town council just had to vote to approve it.
yeah,
So
they're one
they-
of the few towns that has that ability, I think.
Yes.
And so they did from July, I think they started maybe late June to September. They're already done all of the planning and through the governing bodies,
Yeah, so
which was warp speed.
So
It
we'll
was
likely
first time.
start pricing them in the next few weeks. So yeah, they were quick.
Out of curiosity, how often do you reprice?
So we have the first 4 communities done. We have 3 communities that are in pricing right now, and will likely be done soon. Then we have it. So how often? It depends on how many towns have completed everything and have town approval. So we can only price when we have a town that's fully ready to go. So come end of March, April, we'll probably have 10, 12 towns that will likely be ready to price. Because we have several that are in the same process as you guys are right now. So it'll probably end up being more a annual, or maybe 2 to 3 times a year on occasion that will price a group of towns or a singular town if it ends up being that way. But yeah, it won't be very often over the course of a year.
Utilities are twice a year?
I'm sorry?
Utilities are twice a year when they go out for their...
Correct. but they can only purchase in a 3-day window.
Right, right.
Those 2 times a year. We have the ability to price almost any time during the year, so we can time the market much better than the utilities can. But also we would need to have approved towns to be able to
Right.
price. So
So that was
And
a
s-
question I had, I'm sorry. So it gets approved at town meeting, but it's not coming in at a good price. Does the vote at town meeting give you only a certain amount of time to enact the program and bring it up? So if it happens to be a bad time to price, you're stuck?
we
Or-
can't price before it's approved at town meeting.
Right,
But
so.
you can wait forever, however long. So the
Thank you.
towns
That's
that
the
are,
answer. On the other side,
Yep.
how
Yeah.
long can you wait to price? Is there a limit? Has the legislature put a limit on you have to have it active in 3 months?
No,
Nope.
No?
Once it's approved, it's approved. If we get to, let's say we have all the data, we're ready to go in April, and the market's bad, then we don't do anything. We'll continue to monitor the market, and then if it changes and May or June become that window, then we'll obviously want to move then. But yeah, we make recommendations based on based on what the market is. And yeah, if the market, we're not going to launch if the cheapest rate and at least the default rate of the program, and maybe that ends up being the cheapest rate. In most cases, it's been that extra 10% renewable. But we won't launch if at least those 2 are above the utility default. We want to at least make sure that those 2 are below. Our first group was fortunate because the rates were so high with Eversource that all 4 of our rate options were below the default rate. Now that Eversource rate has come down, and I believe we still have three of the 4. The cheapest rate, 10%, added 10%, and 50% options are still below the default rate.
and another thing to your question is, so the first 4 towns chose 30 months for their rate length. So they have the same rate until December 2025. So we might go out and purchase for new towns, or procure for new towns, but like for Litchfield's, your rate would stay the same until the end of your contract length.
So if there's a benefit, as an example, a year into the program, it's 3 cents a kilowatt hour, 4 cents a kilowatt hour, when you reprice your next group of towns. Litchfield would potentially not see the benefit to that, if I understood that correctly.
Right, they would be locked into their rate.
Right, so in other words, you don't have an arbitrage system right now where you could sell the power to Eversource, assuming that you were still underneath them, and we would get the benefit of the better rate.
No, that unfortunately
Okay, just,
that a fixed contract is just that. It's you're set for that term. There are some mechanisms, and I don't know if a supplier will use this mechanism for a community power program, but there's mechanisms called blend and extend, where let's say a year in, the market crashes, you buy at market rate, but you extend out your current contract. So let's say you had a contract out to 2024, you could extend it a year and then blend the current market rate with what your existing contract rate is, to lower it. I don't know if community power programs can do that. It's something that I should ask about, but I think and over time, as Standard Power has operated with our municipal buying groups of schools and towns, that we have consistently always been better than the utility rate on average. So there may be a 6-month period where the utility rate does come down below the program rates. But the good thing about that is people have the option to come and go from the program. So they can opt out of the program and then opt back in if it makes sense. So it really is no risk to the resident as long as they pay attention. And if we know that rate is decreasing, the Eversource rate, we can make marketing materials to put out to at least let the public know, hey, this is what the rate's going to be. If you want to, if it's drastically lower, then yeah, you can drop out and go back to the utility. But I don't see that happening. The last couple of years have kind of been outliers with COVID, and then the COVID going very cheap, and then the war overseas spiking. So I think we're back to a more relatively stable market, but I mean, nothing's ever 100%. So
I know Somerville saw, and this was in the first presentation, I think, if that chart's still in there, a dip where the utility rate came below the program default, and what they did was actually sent out materials talking about what that 10% adder was, and, you know, yeah, the utility rate's lower, but you actually have a little bit more greenness built in your rate, and they saw very little program migration because people were okay with that. They saw the benefit in having a little bit greener power. So there's a good to that, and the people that do want to arbitrage and jump out if the rate's lower, they can definitely do that. The program's built to save money, so that's the goal. Yeah.
Okay,
So
we want to get on to the schedule?
I would say I know I want to look at this.
Right.
oh yeah, that was meant to be
With,
a separate meeting altogether. Is the
Right.
plan
Yeah.
itself.
Okay. And so, you said the timeline?
Right here, it's in the
Yeah,
packet.
no.
So we probably want the Board of Selectmen to look at this as well, right? The survey itself, after it's modified.
After
make
it's
change.
modified. How quick can we get a modified survey?
I can workshop it with the comments and send a new copy over to review. I don't know if you want to do that at the next meeting or before the next meeting.
So
Doesn't matter to me. I can do it probably tomorrow or early next week.
I think that that's a conversation we want to have, because I think that the board is going to want us to approve it first. So if there's edits made and we have to come back to the next meeting and approve it, we're now into October, it going out in November. So
If we provide you with the revised survey, are you allowed to share it with the committee, and then are they allowed to send directly to you
we can't vote by email.
not vote, but any feedback, any additional feedback on the revised survey? They
No.
can't send it to you?
No.
Can they send it to the chair of the committee?
We don't have one at the moment.
It doesn't matter. No, because you're all talking about the same thing. So if it was the chair contacting one member about one thing, and it was just that conversation, but if the chair is having the same conversation about the same thing with individual members of the board, that's a violation. So it would really be if edits were made we would have to have another meeting to review the edits and vote.
Do we have to wait a month? Can we,
We don't have
do
to.
you want to have
We
a
can do
special
whatever
meeting
you
when
want.
we get together to vote
Can,
on the
can
survey?
we submit our comments and then vote and conditionally approve, as long as the Board of Selectmen reviews it and likes it?
It has to be public, yeah.
So the committee would conditionally
So we're
approve
saying
it to
he-
the Board of Aldermen, Board of Selectmen, sorry?
Yeah, so we would say, here, here's our comments, here's the edits we'd like you to make, but we want this survey to go out right away. So we don't want to wait until the next Energy Committee meeting. So we can submit our comments and then approve the release of the survey upon the Board of Selectmen's approval.
But we still want to review the edits are correct, right?
Well, yeah, we'd kind of be giving that up to the Board of Selectmen to review. That kind of, it's just an idea to speed it
Yeah,
along.
no, I
Vote's
get where
better.
you're coming from, I'm just not sure the board's gonna be comfortable with it.
No.
Kim, I'd defer to Kim on that, but
Could we have another meeting in 2 weeks? I know the schedule's really tight for room availability and
If
cable
we
crew.
meet again in 2 weeks, I could bring the revised survey and maybe the committee could bring back comments about the plan. So we could kind of keep moving the plan along
Yeah.
while the survey, is kind of getting edited on our end. Does that sound okay?
When's our next board
If-
meeting?
if
We could
it-
pass on some information.
we're all night only, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
How's your schedule? I mean,
I'm open.
I'm open on certain days.
So,
Let's get our calendars out.
this is what it looks
What
like.
about the fire station? Meet over there. Again, it's more cable crew. Not that we need one, but we could keep our own minutes if we had to.
So we would be looking at like October 4th, 5th,
Let's take a look.
right?
What day is that?
So if we did October 4th, I would have to check with the fire department to make sure that the community room is available.
I think I have blast out.
If we,
Still.
the 5th, it is not. The
Wednesday.
3rd, it
Planning board.
is planning
Unless we
board.
meet earlier.
Yeah, unless we met at 5 or 5:30 or,
I'm not sure.
and just did this.
I
So you and-
can't guarantee, I
you
could
and Kim.
probably be there early like that, but can't say for sure.
Monday's capital improvement, so that doesn't help. Yeah, it's getting tight.
How's your schedule over there? The 4th?
On
the 4th.
on the 4th, someone I can guarantee someone will be here. I can't guarantee that one of us will be here, but someone will be here, regardless of the meeting date.
I think I'm available. I think blast out will cancel.
So, I mean, the 4th, if I could schedule it for the 4th, as long as the community room at the fire station is available. And I can confirm that tomorrow morning.
Would it be 6 o'clock, the normal time, or? What time?
I would say we don't want to do earlier than 6.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put it in my calendar now, it's tentative.
I'll send out an email to
Yep.
everyone in the morning.
I don't wanna wait on this.
I might be able to get a
Their committee meeting.
response from
So-
Doug.
Wednesday, October 4th,
Mm-hmm.
6 PM, over at the
We do that.
community room at the fire station.
If they didn't have the room.
Oh, a space.
Yeah.
I see.
Can you, in case you don't have a room available, do you have the ability to use Zoom as an official meeting? Where everyone zooms in?
You have to have a quorum of the board physically present. A quorum of the committee physically present.
Just checking.
I know, COVID was so easy.
Uh-huh.
COVID was so easy when we could do that.
So the Heritage
loved it.
Commission one time met down in the little cafeteria over here at the end. We just kept minutes. I'm just saying, if we had to just get together to do a vote, but publicize the minutes, you know, just the vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing to say that you have to, there's no law that says you have to broadcast your meeting. There's no law that says that. So you can meet and you can take minutes, and as long as it's open to the public. If the public wanted to come, they have to be able to come. But it does not have to be broadcast. There's no legal requirement of that. But I'm going to hope that fire will come through for us. Unless there's a community group, that won't be a problem. Okay. And so if that is acceptable, we will review the edits on the survey, and you'd like any questions we have on the plan.
Yes, please.
And that's the 4th tentatively
4th tentatively.
Okay. at 5:30 or
6. And it would be next door at the fire station if that's available, and hopefully.
So if we do approve it on the 4th or whatever, I'm just looking at your timeline here.
Mhm.
Items that are be next, right? I like the and blurb. That was cute. Are warrant article numbers still early, I believe, right? Is it just have a holder for the warrant article on? If they do, just a holder, right?
Yeah, so warrant article and the blurb, just so that you know, Ryan, we're gonna need that. So our process is that we get our warrant articles together. They have to go to the selectmen to be approved, and then they have to go to the budget committee.
Okay.
So I have to have them to the budget committee by December 15th. So,
That's plenty of time.
I would say at very least first meeting in December for the selectmen, which is.
We have sample language of warrant articles that we've used in other towns, and obviously it's been approved, so we'll share that with you.
Okay.
We can do that in November. I can just bring the
Great.
language over. Yeah.
Great.
I'll write November down.
Yeah, they look at all of
Oh,
them.
legal has to look at it.
They look at all of them,
Absolutely.
whether we want to or not. Unfortunately, no, they have their,
Training.
training.
Who has training?
Why didn't I think of that? No, so the fire room's not available that night. Okay.
One of the schools be open.
I know, I was thinking that, but I'm not sure.
I did one at the library on Tuesday. I don't know if there's rooms at the library.
Yeah, it was just at another town. They met at their library too.
It's nice. They had
What about in
couches.
the back room?
Yeah, that's what we
As
did
well.
before. Yeah, with the planning room.
We could. It's just if a member of the public did show up, we'd have
We'll
to
make
allow
room.
them in.
Planning room's okay size.
It's, yeah. We're a quarter of this size.
Yeah.
No,
It's mostly
Quarter.
filing cabinets.
it's gonna be close corners.
All right, so
Um,
planning room,
All right, you want me to put it in the planning room?
okay, so town hall planning room.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Town hall planning room.
town hall
We'll
planning
be
room.
looking for you out there.
Yes. And so, it will not be broadcast. And it will not be taped. So, that's the only downfall of
Gets
that.
their phone out.
Is there like a town ordinance that meetings have to be? Because a lot
Nope.
of
Nope.
okay. Oh yeah, a lot of the committees don't broadcast or even have the capability of doing that. So
Yes. I know in a lot of communities, it's the governing body is always broadcast, and maybe
Yeah.
the governing body and the budget committee, but it's very rare to have all of the committees broadcast, but we have a great CTV staff, and so, but they'll miss this one. We'll just, I'll let Matt know, because it's an issue for Matt taking the minutes. So if we can come up with another, way of maybe letting him hear it, or I don't know, or he'll have to be
Does he have a
physically
conflict?
present.
Is there another meeting he's doing? Because he lets them be recorded
Yes,
and he can
he'll be doing,
write them up
well,
later.
the school board is that evening. So,
Well, worst case, it's very simple minutes, right?
right,
The
yep,
agenda,
that's all we have to
who
do.
was here, how we, what we, the motion was, how we voted. Are we gonna also wanna review the draft at that point in more detail, or is this the agenda just for?
I think any
just the
questions
brochure
on the
survey?
draft?
Hmm?
I think they asked for questions on the draft.
Okay, so 2 items on the agenda. One is the survey,
Yep.
right?
Perfect.
Updated, and the other one is feedback.
Another thing,
on the
well, will there be a second meeting in October?
Yeah.
Sounds
We'll
like
have
there'll
a
be another
normal
one.
and.
Our
meeting.
normal
Yeah.
Do
one
you know the date of that?
is,
It's the last Thursday, right, usually? That's
no,
know.
great point. Ryan, glad you brought that up, because remember we said we had through September, then budget starts. We have no
21st.
Thursdays left.
Today.
Um,
Oh. The planning room's gonna get a work.
we have no Thursdays remaining.
So you're looking at the end of the month, let me go in there, let me take a look.
So
End of
the
the
end of the month, we have an issue because we need to move it to another day. Or
I'm just looking
Thursday.
at town calendar online. If you go to Litchfield and
Ah.
NH.gov, town calendar.
Wait a minute. We're gonna move to the fire station
When?
Thursday, October 26th. You want the 26th, or well, the problem with that is if we do it at 6 o'clock, for at least the first, well, no, really, most of them, Karen and I can only be here we must be at budget, so. Do we want to move it to a different day?
Friday's looking good. Friday, what's, ugh. Oh, wait a minute, let's go way at the end of the month. What's down there? It's not too bad. School's at 5:30, right?
Tuesday,
Oh, wait a minute,
the
that's November 1st.
24th, is recreation. None of us are on recreation.
What's my day
Um,
look like on Tuesdays?
Tuesday, and I could ask for the fire station.
You're not asking for Halloween. 'Cause I will be trick-or-treating with my son. Which day are you talking about? The one before it?
Tuesday, October 24th.
24th? Okay.
None of us are on recreation. That's the
Right.
only committee meeting that night. We can't go one before that because that's planning. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So the
So,
24th at 6 o'clock?
so if we say the 24th at 6 o'clock, at the fire station, because Rec has town hall, and I'm just waiting for Doug to respond. And then I think if that's acceptable with everyone, we just keep that going forward, at least until budget's over. That it be that last Tuesday. At least till budget season's over.
Last Tuesday, except this one's Halloween, so we're not doing that one, right?
Right.
Okay. We're getting into Thanksgiving. Maybe. I don't know when is Thanksgiving? I don't know. It's the end of the November, right?
Thursday, the 23rd of November.
Oh, okay, so it's a week.
So
ahead.
it's the Tuesday after. Unfortunately, it's
Or you can do the
getting
16th.
very difficult.
November 16th is open.
Uh,
Again, I know
November
people want to
20th.
have kind of planned, it's always the last week, but it looks like November 16th might be,
We
November
could,
20th.
well, 16th is budget here.
oh, at 7, I see, yeah.
Just to add to it a little bit, we also have to plan 2 public hearings
Ah.
to allow for public comment.
Yeah,
So those
right.
can be at noon or I just say at noon. They can be anytime during the day. So it's pretty popular to do them at like 6 o'clock, and they're usually just an hour long. So I know budgets. A lot of towns are talking about how budget season is squeezing it. So
Yeah, so I think we want to really look at that. And we can go back and kind of chart out some dates on when that will happen.
Sam and I are both on planning, right? One of us could not go, or both. We usually have a quorum there, right? If it's quiet. And we don't have a lot of zoning ordinances coming for the warrant article, right? It's pretty light this
It's
year,
been
they
pretty
said.
light, yeah.
But if you're gonna have a public hearing, we want to be careful of whatever the
That's right.
Economic Development Committee is going to do and where they're gonna start,
Yeah, we need this
where
one.
the Board of Selectmen's gonna need to have,
Mhm.
because I think they have a couple that are gonna come up.
But
so-
the public hearing has to be this room, probably.
Yeah, so
Yes,
we
yeah.
can, I mean, unless someone from the committee wants to, but typically, other public hearings have been one of us, I think, just going through the presentation essentially of what community
Okay.
power is and then fielding questions from anyone that shows up. So the whole committee doesn't have to be there, whoever can make it, and if one of you wants to lead the charge on those question and answer sessions, that's great. But yeah, that's kind of how it has worked so far.
they're usually also pretty light. There's not usually
Yeah.
that many people that show to them. So doesn't if this room's the best room or for broadcasting, it seems like it is, but
Yeah, and it's not like we'll be voting on anything during the public hearing, so.
No, it's more just information. Yeah, bylaw. Yeah, just information sessions open to the public. So.
Yeah.
We have to get it over to the Board of
just adding
Selectmen too,
those
right?
That's pretty
Approve it.
flexible.
Yes, so I really want to look at the whole schedule, including when we need to have warrant articles to the board and what else. We'll know more, within the next week.
So we're meeting Wednesday the 4th at 6.
In
And
the
Tuesday
planning
the 24th at 6.
Right.
And can we decide on when the first public hearing will be later on, or do you want to decide on that right now?
we
No,
can decide at the next meeting
yeah.
too.
If I could
That's
bring
fine.
some dates
Yeah.
that, just so that we can chart it out of what we've got going on with budget.
Yeah, this is everything that we need to hit throughout the process. So yeah, please review if there are dates later on in the year that you think could fit for some of these things. Yeah, let us know.
Okay,
Yeah, really after the
Zoning completes in the other room, right?
plan approval with public, those are,
Can we get another room?
Yeah,
Can we just
We
get
need a warrant
another
article for another
conference room?
so right here, zoning meets on the 20th, right? At the
Um,
fire station? So we, maybe stuff.
Zoning generally meets here unless we ask them to go to the
Same
fire
with
station.
Planning board could go over there for one day,
yep,
right?
So fire station's out, unfortunately.
Which day? The 24th?
24th.
Planning room, town hall, Karen's
Uh,
office.
He can give us the 4th though. If we want the 4th, he'll move what's there. So if we want to have, I think we're better keeping them public and taped. especially if Matt needs to
Yep.
have the tape, so let's. Okay. So. So the 24th is out. Unless we go to, well, it can't be here. And it can't be at the fire station. And Monday is out because it's Board of Selectmen. And Thursday the 19th's out, it's budget. Wednesday the 18th would not be, that's out, some, NRPC executive. Yeah, so we're having a problem here.
Well, it does look like deliberatives in when? February? So we're gonna be busy in December getting a lot of this done after budget season's kind of hopefully hammered out. I know that's the busy time.
Well,
so
I don't think,
It's gonna be fun. Well, I know
no,
people here
because I
work during the
wouldn't,
day,
I
right?
wouldn't technically bring the warrant article to the Board of Selectmen for approval until after you've had the budget, the public hearing.
No, I agree with that, absolutely.
I don't like the
No, I agree with
looks
you.
of that.
No, I agree with you.
Do you know what I mean? Unless you've had, and if you've had communities do that,
I would say more importantly than the hearings is probably the plan being approved by this committee. Because the hearings, really, it goes in the back in Exhibit 1, and it's good to get the town, like, involved with their questions, but I would say it would probably be more confident, like, having this approved through this committee and, like, on the select board's agenda, or just that planned out. I think that's the most important part.
okay,
So, I don't know if that helps.
okay,
though, but-
that did. No, it did. Thank you. So, I know we said no to Halloween. But does anyone have a problem with the night before Halloween?
What day is that?
Pre-Halloween?
Spooky.
I don't have a problem with Halloween, but
I had like 400 kids for Halloween. I got a lot.
so Monday the 30th, it looks like there is no meetings. Do you see that?
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm not working on that day.
So we could,
Monday the 3rd.
Monday the 30th, we could meet.
That's
If
October.
everyone doesn't get in their costumes.
I can meet on Monday, the 30th.
October, Monday the 30th?
I'm not a Halloween.
Is that with October 24th as well?
No.
Okay,
Oh, you're gonna
instead
say
of.
no to that?
Got it.
24th is, no, we can't.
Oh,
Doug just burst my bubble with that.
oh, we still have the planning
Got
room.
that, okay.
Same. Right?
Okay,
Yeah? Do you
I'm
wanna-
just, yeah.
You want to reserve the planning room? I don't know if you can even do that on this. I know you can put any comment you want in there, but is there other things that we can do? I don't want to make meetings for the sake of meetings, but there's 20 days, almost 3 weeks between
But-
the 4th and the 24th, right? So we can be doing our proofreading, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting the committee set up, get the website kind of drafted.
Yeah,
ready to
I
go.
mean, if, that's fine. Why don't we keep it the 24th and we'll go in the planning room?
And you said October.
Not the 30th.
I know.
Well,
That's
you
the
might
problem.
well, that might be the public hearing night. I don't know.
Well,
Could be the public hearing night.
Everybody will be in costume.
Do meetings have to take place in town?
Hope so.
yes.
Twilight Zone.
No, I don't think.
Big office
I'm pretty sure
building
there's
our
no-
offices in Nashua, so
Pretty sure there's no official law on that or ordinance, but it's just good practice. October 24th, 6 p.m. Planning room. We'll have to take minutes.
And you want October 30th to be a potential public hearing?
October 30th, maybe. Well, I do. Yeah, I can record it on my,
There must be one they used to do.
We still have-
October 30th.
Still gotta get up the board in there somewhere to look at things.
Yeah. I don't see.
I only see
that
them on the 23rd.
being
And we're
a
meeting on the
public hearing.
24th.
It's too early for a public hearing.
No, I agree, we don't even see the board. We missed it
Yeah.
by a day. All right, so we can work on that offline. We don't have to do that, but we understand these are the
And
bullet
so-
points we must hit.
In between now and October 4th, I'm gonna work with the fire station and the staff to figure out what rooms are available, when we can move the meetings, and so there's a lot of logistics that that we have to find out, so.
And the dependencies you have on the other meetings, right, with the Board of Selectmen too.
And October 4th is in the planning room as well, right?
October 24th is in the planning room.
And the 4th as well?
Nope,
Now the
4th's
fire
going to
station.
fire station now.
All right.
See, I'll send an email. And, I don't think, Teresa, your email's on here, right? On this card?
Her car.
Is that your card?
Mine in the folder, yeah, it's at
Yes.
it's below the 2 phone numbers.
Yep. Okay, so. We're good.
We're good.
I'll be here.
Okay, so the
Wow,
4th at
that's
6
painful.
in the planning room,
Nope.
No,
Fire
station.
station.
Fire station.
the fire station. Okay.
Sam, I'll send an email.
And we're back to the 24th?
yes,
24th. Mhm.
In the planning room.
That's
In
in
the
the
planning
planning room. And then not the 30th.
we don't know yet.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe the 30th,
Probably not,
but it's
but-
not.
Probably not the 30th.
Probably not. Okay. Gotcha.
It is becoming very challenging.
You should see our calendars.
No, thank you.
Yeah, really. Imagine.
Okay.
All right, back to the agenda.
All right.
All right, so that we covered number 5, next steps and timeline review. So we know the next steps are to have the changes to the brochure or the survey, right?
Yep.
And we will all do our homework and read this to get, anything going on with that.
Not before bed.
No, and then when we meet on the
It might help
4th.
you go to bed.
Yeah, really, so that's
want
for
your
the
comments
4th, right?
Yeah, so I'm just thinking between now and the 4th, could you send over some, you said you have some
Like Facebook
resources
stuff?
on what would go out
Yep.
before the survey?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask, is that,
Yeah.
yeah, we have like, hey,
You can
this
do
is
that,
what
that's
we're
great.
working on for the town, this is what it is, like a quick blurb.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have an issue putting that out, yeah, we can totally send that.
Yeah, I think we could kind of start educating now, at least to say, the energy committee is working on this, you can watch past meetings here to get more information, and a survey will be coming. Just get people looking. So. Awesome.
All right. Any other updates you would like to give? No? Anybody else? Anybody have any comments or updates? All right, anything else you would like to add? You all set?
I don't think so.
All
Thank you
right.
again.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for all the questions.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
we'll get some clarity on some questions that were brought up too, so.
All right, do we need an actual motion for adjournment? Is there a committee? Keep forgetting. Yeah,
Make a motion to adjourn.
you make a motion to adjourn. Can you do that? All right, who wants to make a motion to adjourn?
Did we want to talk about the LED lights and?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Give an update.
Nope, sorry. Oh, I'm terrible. We can get it back. You wanted to do that after
Don't
number
have to.
3, right?
So,
No, I do want to do that, come on.
yes, the LED lights have not gone to the Board of Selectmen as of yet, because the estimate that we originally received, which was about $5,200, was only for this half of the building, from here over. Then, in conversation, there was some conversation as to we should do the fire department side at the same time, and the contractor, needs to come back to look at those lights. So that's temporarily where that is at the moment. The grants for the DPW trucks, road agent Kevin Brown and I are actively working on the responses to the grants. The selectmen did approve us to apply.
Okay.
We are hopeful that it will provide us 2 trucks. And it's pretty much been, as long as the equipment that you are disposing of fits the bill, you get it. It's not like a competitive grant. So the only downfall to that grant is if you are approved, it's 2080. So the town still has to come up with 20% of the cost of the vehicle. And you must dispose of the old equipment. The state will not reimburse you until you have disposed of the diesel vehicles, because that's
I see.
the goal of the program is to get diesel.
So that's already moving along. Do you want any comment from this committee on the grant for the truck?
The grant is, and I can send the link over to everyone, and please look at it. If you have any thoughts, feel free. The grant is due October 2nd, so it's going to be due before our next meeting.
Okay.
We had a pretty short turnaround on that, but it's also not very lengthy. It's not very detailed. It really is the state having this goal of getting these older vehicles, which we have plenty of, those we have an abundance of, off of the road. So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't qualify. And it's a pretty quick turnaround for a grant. We should know probably sometime in January, which is good because we're not putting these particular vehicles on the CIP or the warrant article. So.
Is there a lead time for the trucks to be delivered, should the grant come through?
Yes, they thought you'd get some initial, hey, congratulations, in January. By the time it all goes through executive council and everyone's blessed it, it's probably more like April.
That's when you officially find out.
No,
That's when
January,
you can
you
actually
probably-
buy a truck,
right.
that
That's
they're
when,
available.
because you have to wait for you can get a congratulations, you're getting state money, and then wait 2 or 3 months before you hear, oh, you're actually getting state money.
But are there trucks available to buy is really my question. Is there-
Yes, so we had to get quotes and things, and we pretty much had to lock the dealerships. Well, we're going under state contract, so we had to lock that in to say we're asking for a quote now for next April, May, and they have to agree to that.
So it could be like a year,
Okay.
all right.
So then we won't do anything, but can you just send the info, the quote, I guess, for the lighting?
Sure.
Send that out. We can talk about it next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good job.
And I also did not put it in the budget, so we would have to find a funding source for said LED lights.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second? Sam and George. All right, so I don't think we really have to vote, but say aye. Okay. Motion carries. All right, we'll see you back on October 4th. Thank you, everybody.
Get 'em.